There you go. You got it. I'm here. I made it. I'm so excited, fam. Yeah, just don't make me go on that show because you would not enjoy that voice. I am not a singer. Yeah.
Hold on. Now they can hear me. I had my microphone off.
Oh,
So,
classic.
weren't, weren't, weren't. So, let me go ahead and introduce Ben again. All right. Well, this is Joe of the Two Shots podcast. We're going to be joined by the one, the only Benjamin Bornstein or Bornstein. How would you like me to say it?
Steen, please.
Bornstein. I'll say it Bornstein. That's how we're going to say your name from now on. And like I was saying before, Ben has officially arrived now because he is rocking new gear. We got Ben some new gear, so he sounds wonderful. We can see him. He's in full HD now.
Yes. 1080p.
1080p. There you go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about some San Antonio Spurs basketball since it's arrived. We had Spurs Media Day recently, and today is actually what now the second day of Spurs training camp. So it's celebration across the board. So let's
Hallelujah.
yeah, hallelujah. Spurs basketball is just around the corner. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about some of the interesting things that happened during Spurs training camp. Specifically, we want to go ahead and address some of the quotes that Coach Pop, had said in Spurs Media Day. One of them, in particular, was him talking about the Marquise Morris debacle. They went ahead and asked him. The reporters did. They asked Coach Pop. Was it tough losing Davis Bertans, and he was like, yeah, it really was tough losing Davis. And he went on to kind of emphasize the importance of losing Davis the way that they lost him, in this Marquise Morris debacle because Marquise Morris kind of reneged on the Spurs at the last minute. And the exact quote was from Coach Pop was, it was an unfortunate situation that was handled unprofessionally on a couple of different levels. We made that move to make the signings that we did and got blindsided. Basically, Marquise Morris, he just didn't tell the Spurs anything, kept them out of the loop, and decided at the last minute to make another deal with the New York Knicks. So we kind of traded away Davis Bertans for absolutely nothing. How did you feel about that? I know how I felt, but how were you feeling about that?
I would have to agree with Pop. I mean, that was a pretty unprofessional move. That was, you had given your commitment to sign with a team and you happen to get a slightly better deal from someone else late in the process. And it's funny because Marcus Morris said that he was keeping in contact with Pop and RC Buford the entire time and let them know that he was going to be changing his mind. But Popovich basically came back yesterday and said, no such thing happened. We were blindsided, like he said. It was unprofessional. And then, Marcus Morris had an opportunity at the New York Knicks media day to say something about it, and he kept it very vague. He he was given a chance to clarify what happened, and he didn't. He chose not to, and that doesn't help him at all. This could have been an opportunity for him to say, or at least defend himself, and say, maybe I wasn't as professional as I should have been, or maybe he really did stay in touch the entire time and Pop and RC didn't get calls or something, whatever it was. But he he didn't do anything. He didn't give himself a chance to tell his side of the story. And so what you're going to end up having is a lot of people saying, well, I have to side with Popovich because Marcus Morris didn't do anything for himself here. He had the perfect chance to come back, defend himself, didn't. And I thought the funniest thing was there was a quote from him about, I signed with the Knicks because they accept guys like me. And I was like, yes, they do generally accept people who are okay with losing. They do that often.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong, Marcus Morris.
And he also stated that he went ahead and signed with the Knicks due to him being closer to his family in Philly. Okay, if that was the case, and you were going to go ahead and sign, with the Knicks and you committed too early to the Spurs, at least have the courtesy to keep them in the loop and say, hey, you don't got to trade your guy away. I've changed my mind. I've had a change of heart. I want to stay closer to home. I'm going to go with the Knicks instead. Thought it'd be nice if I give you a call, give you a heads up, and talk to you guys in person. That probably would have settled things. They would have been disappointed, no doubt. But that's the right thing to do. Man to man, you want to be given a heads up and have somebody be honest with you. So I don't,
Especially since the Spurs made those moves. Davis
yeah,
Bertans was not a guy they planned on getting rid of at
yeah.
26 and still improving. That was a guy they wanted on their roster.
He would be a key piece to the Spurs this coming season, if they hadn't traded him away. That would have just made the team a lot, you know, better and deeper at that position. So it was let's just say this was not handled like Coach Pop said in the most professional manner. So we'll just go ahead and that makes, I guess, the next game coming up, because the Spurs are going to face the Knicks, I believe, in the first game of the regular season. So that's going to be one of these games that's going to be,
Oh,
filled with
yeah.
drama, and everybody's going to want to watch that. And of course, they're not going to want the Knicks to win, and I doubt the Knicks are going to try to win. It looks like it's going to be another tanking season since they did not get the coveted Zion Williamson. That fell to New Orleans Pelicans. So I guess karma has something to play into that.
And a new lottery system, but we'll go with
Yeah.
mostly karma.
Yeah, I like karma. I think we'll go with karma. So now that we've moved on from this Marquise Morris debacle, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what Rudy Gay had said specifically about Derrick White, because Rudy Gay had an interesting quote that came out of Spurs Media Day, and I'm gonna go ahead and read it to you guys. I'm just waiting for the slide to pull up for me real quick, so please bear with me. Okay, now here's the slide. It says Rudy Gay's quote was, "He keeps on surprising us. He can be a great player in this league, and he's taking strides. I don't think people understand how important FIBA is, especially for a young player. I'm excited to see what he can do out there, and I'm expecting the world out of him." That's what Rudy Gay had to say about Derrick White, when he was asked about him. I liked exactly what Rudy Gay had to say. We're expecting a lot of things out of Derrick White. We all saw him take, huge strides last season. So what did you think about the quote from Rudy Gay?
Love that quote. That's a guy who understands how FIBA works. He understands that, even especially for a young guy, an experience like that, being able to go overseas playing other professionals who are at different stages of their careers is an eye opener. And Derrick White actually got to play some pretty good minutes. He wasn't just some dude on the bench. So that's the even better part. He actually played. He got real experience, and he's young enough to where he didn't have to. He could go over there, play all those minutes, not be worried about his body being beat up for this season, like what a lot of NBA players were concerned with when they dropped out for this FIBA season, as it were. So I think that's awesome. I love that Rudy Gay cares that much, that he cares like that. That's one of the things I love about this team. These are guys who genuinely care about each other, want to see each other succeed. And I think it's fair to say that Spurs fans have very high expectations for Derrick White this year. I don't know if he's going to start right out of the gate. I think he may be the first guy off the bench for the Spurs, but the Spurs obviously like him a lot because they just picked up his third-year option. So they obviously have high expectations for him too. And so I'm very curious and I'm very excited to see what he does this season.
Yeah, I am as well. One of the big questions is, are we going to see this? I guess one of the better backcourts in the all of the NBA, and seeing Derrick White and Dejounte Murray play together on the court. The answer to that, we really don't know. We're expecting that at some course, we're going to go ahead and see them together on the floor at the same time. But will they start the game together? I don't know. Maybe they'll stagger them out because, the reality is that the Spurs are guard heavy, so they're going to have these minutes, and they're going to be, go around, and they're going to have these different lineup changes because Coach Pop notoriously always tinkers with the lineup in the beginning of the season to try to get, I guess, some type of production that he wants out of the team. So do you think we'll see that duo, be the starting lineup? We're gonna have Dejounte and Derrick on the court at the same time, or is it going to be more of a staggered situation?
I think to start the season it'll be staggered, but I think as the season goes on and the team realizes and Coach Pop realizes that those two together playing at the same time is going to be a defensive nightmare for other teams. I think we're going to see more and more of their minutes collide and come at the same time rather than stagger, unless there are injuries elsewhere where the staff feels, okay, we need to have one of these guys on the court at all times, and we can't always have them together because we need to have that defensive presence on the perimeter, and one of them's got to be there at all times.
Yeah, because we were really missing somebody to guard the wing last season, So it'd be interesting to see how Coach Pop wants to use them out there on the floor. I think that using that dynamic duo in White and Dejounte helps the Spurs from a defensive standpoint really get to where they need to be, to be able to compete not only in the regular season but also in the postseason. Because let's be honest, when we saw the Spurs all last season, one of their biggest uh, faults, or we want to say fault, was defense. They could never seem to be very consistent on the defensive front, especially when they were away from the AT&T Center. I think that's why they dropped so many games. It had to do more with playing consistent defense, but also with the plethora of young talent that they had on the team and new players. All that kind of takes a toll. We're going into another season where there's more familiarity and a return to normalcy with the guard play, because we were calling upon players like, and they're notoriously they're shooting guards, and Bryn Forbes and Patty Mills to kind of run the point, and that's really not their position. They're more of the shooting guard. So now that we're going to have true point guards running that position, I'd like to see what kind of consistency that's going to come, how that's going to come into play for the Spurs in the upcoming season. I think you're excited because you kind of see the same thing, that return to normalcy. Correct, Ben?
Yeah, return to normalcy, and getting those guys minutes at those unknown positions for them will help this year at times, but I think it will be good for them to move back to what they're comfortable with, because you don't want Patty Mills isn't generally a guy who goes out, creates for others, has a ton of assists every game, but he is a fantastic shooter. He makes his defender work the entire time he's in the game, and he does a lot of other nice things that aren't necessarily considered point guard skills.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate because he's kind of a shooting guard stuck in a point guard's body, and he knows that. I think, I would hope, but he's a guy who had to play a lot of point guard last year, and he was handling the ball a lot, and he blew up during FIBA this year, which was fun to watch. I absolutely love that. So I think he's coming into the season with a lot of confidence from that as well. So I think having everybody at their position where they're really used to playing, where they're supposed to play, is going to be huge. And frankly, I just think having DeJounte Murray back playing the defense we're accustomed to seeing from him, and then having Derrick White playing the minutes that he's supposed to be playing at the position he's supposed to be playing is going to be huge. And again, like you said, defense is going to be huge. They were 20th, I think, in points allowed per game last season. I don't expect that number to stay the same. I expect them to be a top 10 defensive team, as they usually are. That is their calling card. And I think the offense will be a little bit better too, but that is very dependent on how many threes this team is shooting and who is shooting them.
Yeah. And that's one of the things too, is that we have to see the return of the three. It was there, last season. It just wasn't quite the numbers that Spurs fans are accustomed to, because we lost some of our 3-point shooting, and Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. So we got some of it back. I mean, we had Bryn Forbes. We did have Davis Bertans, shooting 3-pointers out there, along with some of the other players as well. But those were the two that really come to mind, you know, to carry most of the load when it came to shooting the three for the San Antonio Spurs. So this season, we've seen some of the players working on their 3-point shots in the offseason. We've seen, videos of DeJounte, shooting 3-pointers out there. We haven't really seen too much of Derrick White, because Derrick White was busy with getting ready for FIBA, so their practice sessions are a little bit more closed than some of the other players that go to the gym and work out. So it'd be interesting to see the return of the three for the Spurs, because that in fact does help open up the floor a little bit more, and it keeps the defense honest. So it gives the other
And it's
players a chance to really do their thing.
and it's funny because the Spurs were actually I'm pretty sure they were a top three team in 3-point
Yeah,
percentage, but they were last or second to last in attempts per game.
yeah, yeah. They didn't take a lot, but the ones that they did take, they capitalized on them. They were
Exactly.
efficient. So they didn't need to chunk up like 60 or 50 threes like the Houston Rockets do. Uh,
Nobody needs that.
yeah, you don't need that. But that's a discussion for another show. That's the D'Antoni offense, at work there. So great for the regular season, but it's not going to get you to the big dance. you know.
Gots to play defense.
Yep, you got to play defense. So we're going to go ahead and move on a little bit here, and I wanted to ask you something. We have the
Hit
training
me.
camp, starting here. This is going to be the second day of training camp. What are you looking for? What store? What things are you looking for here out of training camp that are going to be, instrumental to the Spurs getting better and moving forward? As far as what players should the fans really keep an eye on, during this training camp session, so we can see how they've developed. What are your top players that we should keep an eye on?
So for me, it's very much has Rudy Gay improved his 3-point shooting and has DeMar DeRozan improved his 3-point shooting? And I know on Monday that LaMarcus Aldridge kind of touched on will he be shooting more threes because he can shoot them and he can
Yeah.
be efficient. But will this be the season where he's taking maybe between 2 to 3 a game and really making other big men have to come out of the paint and guard him?
Yeah.
I think that would be huge for DeJounte Murray because from what we've seen, Murray is now hitting with regularity his mid-range jump shot, and I assume eventually he will become more comfortable at the 3-point line as well. But even if he's just hitting that mid-range shot like Tony Parker used to do, Murray's going to keep defenses honest. He's going to get a lot of points that way, and he's going to be able to kind of get to the free throw line, fake a guy, and get to his teardrop near the rim because
Mm-hmm.
he is a threat to shoot it now. So for me, it's kind of those three or four things: Gay and DeRozan becoming more efficient shooting threes, shooting more threes, and becoming comfortable doing so. Because in this day and age, the mid range two is just an inefficient shot. Even if you're hitting it 45, 50% of the time, shooting 33% from three is going to be worth more.
No, of
And
course.
so those are adjustments you have to make. And I understand that it's a very comfortable shot. They make tough mid-range shots all the time. I get that. And I get that because that's my pickup game. I live in the mid-range. That's what I do. I get that. I'm in love with 15 feet and in. That's where I live. But in the NBA, you have to shoot threes as a guard and a forward. That's just the reality of this day and age.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Jason Garcia and also to Brian Mendoza. Brian Mendoza, he's good people. He's a big Rockets fan, and he heard what we're saying about the Rockets, so he puts "Go Rockets, go!" And Jason's being a little troll here, like always, just poking fun. He's saying Brian Mendoza, just leave. and Jason also says he likes the Fiesta colored shirt you do have on, so you have a fan.
Yes. Yes. I'm here for it. I am a
Yeah,
huge Fiesta fan. Give me
there
the
you go.
Fiesta jerseys now.
I don't know, man. I think it's going to be more of the same. If we do get a throwback, I anticipate that it's going to be the retro throwback to the 80s with the George Gervin, the traditional silver and black with just the San Antonio, across the word San Antonio across the chest there. I'd be happy with that, so I think
I don't hate it. I'd get that jersey.
think it's a good compromise, but I don't think we're really going to see the Fiesta colors yet again, and the fans are probably going to riot this time and be upset, but it is what it
That's
is.
that's how they do it. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Is what it is. It'd be nice maybe one day before I die we'll see that happen, but I don't know. So let's go ahead and talk about something else here. One of the other things that came to mind to me right off the bat that I saw earlier this morning was the announcement. And we kind of I saw this yesterday, late yesterday, but I saw the announcement that the Spurs extended, you know, uh, the contracts, I guess you could say, of both Derrick White and also Lonnie Walker. So essentially, what that means is that if they're extending them, they're going to go ahead and keep them all the way through the 2020 2021 season. which is a good move for the San Antonio Spurs because we don't want to lose either one of these young players in free agency, So it's nice to see that they made those, qualifying offers, those little extensions to keep them through the 2020 through the 2021 season. What were your thoughts on that?
Love it. It's the right move. It's the smart move. It's exactly what they should do. It's a no-brainer. To me, it's a very straightforward. I don't know if you'd call it a transaction, but it's a very straightforward decision, at least. And neither of those two guys have given the Spurs any reason to not trust them or to say, maybe we shouldn't pick up this option. But, that's going to be huge because in a summer or two, the Spurs are going to have to start paying some people, or they're going to have to go out and find some free agents, and they're going to want the cap space to do that. And keeping these guys on small contracts right now is going to be huge.
Yeah. So I like the move too. We want to keep them both here with the team, and we want to see what they've done. As far as their development, we know that Derrick White has taken great strides in his game. We want to see the same thing happen out of Lonnie Walker this season, and I think this is going to be the year that Spurs fans are finally waiting for. We're going to see, Lonnie start to come in his own and possibly even get more minutes, and maybe start seeing some type of normal rotation, and him maybe getting some minutes in there, with everybody else. So that would be interesting because the guy has great athleticism. There's just not a lot of minutes to go around, and he is young, and Coach Pop notoriously goes with his veterans, not so much the young guys, the rookies, but Lonnie's no longer a rookie. He's been here for a little bit, so it'd be interesting to see how they're going to utilize him this season. That's all I'm saying. Give Lonnie some play, give him some run, see what he's got, right?
Get this man some playing time. That's what we want. And
Yeah.
I think he will get that. I think he'll see the court plenty this year. They're gonna have an opportunity. The Spurs are gonna have a great opportunity to really mess with some lineups. They have a lot of flexibility at around their perimeter because they have so many guards. So if you got a guy who's been off for a week or so, you say, what, Marco Bellinelli, maybe you don't play as many minutes. We're going to throw Lonnie in there. He's going to give us some defense. He's going to give us some athletic plays that maybe Marco can't give us, and we'll see what happens. But it is going to be tough with all the guards they have. The Spurs have DeJounte Murray, they have Derrick White, they have Bryn Forbes, they have Patty Mills. They have Marco Bellinelli. And they have Lonnie Walker, and it's a lot of guys. It's tough. It's hard to find the playing time for all those guys. You only get to play 5 on the court at a time. So, that somebody's going to lose out on minutes, and it might be Lonnie Walker this year, which kind of sucks because Spurs fans really liked what they saw out of him over the course of the season, and he did some good things in Austin as well. So it's tough. But they have some guys they signed specifically for the next season and the season after, who they said, these are good investments for us. These are guys who can help us win because they have some sort of specialty role to play. Marco Bellinelli, he gets buckets. He just hits shots. He hits big ones at times. Damari Carroll, great defender. He can defend 3 to 4 positions, and so I thought that was a great signing when it was all said and done. And even Trey Lyles is still a young guy. He has potential to be a guy who can make the rotation, who can get in regular minutes if he picks up his 3-point shooting percentage and shoots better from there than he did his last couple seasons, which I think were a fluke because I've seen him shoot and his shot looks good. Yeah. It's a smooth shot. His mechanics are right. And he's a 6'10" forward who can guard probably 3 positions for you. And he's going to work hard because he wants to keep getting an NBA contract.
Yeah, most definitely. So, yeah, I like everything that you just said. So that's just a little bit of insight as far as, what you should look for during Spurs training camp. And of course, we also have the silver and black scrimmage game that'll be coming up next week. Spurs fans are going to get up for that. It's free. They're going to be able to get a first look at some of these younger players out there on the court. So that's always fun times. Unfortunately, this is going to be the first year that I'm actually going to miss this because I will be in Florida. But it's for a good cause because I'm going to be going to Disney World and I'm going to be at Star Wars Galaxy Edge. So, I gotta do what I gotta do, man. I want to fly that Millennium Falcon, dude.
You have to.
Yeah, so it's always a good time over in Disney. So I'm gonna have fun. Keep an eye out. I'll post some videos and pictures. Let everybody know what's going on out there. So before we go ahead and end this live stream, Ben, where can they see the content that you put out for Project Spurs?
You can find me on projectspurs.com. I'm on Twitter at _Boomstein, and I will take any and all of your critiques, criticism, comments. I enjoy likes. I love getting in touch with fans, with people, with other Spurs fans, people who watch the games. So, if you have any questions, please hit me. But for the most part, I am the college basketball guy. I'm always looking at prospects coming up in the draft. So if you got questions about those guys, please hit me up. Love talking about that. I'm a college basketball junkie. It's a real problem. I'm an addict, and the first step to recovery is admitting your problem. So I've done that today.
There you go. You admitted your problem. So the only cure for that is to keep watching more college basketball.
And more cowbell.
Yeah, there you go. So that's about all the time we do have for today's show, So keep an eye out for us as we're going to be bringing you more Spurs updates as the season unfolds here. So again, thank you for watching us here, doing our little live stream for the Two Shots podcast. So for Ben, I'm Joe Garcia. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, and be kind. We're out. Peace.